Hey everyone, Zyraizo here. Another Nintendo Direct just came out, so again, I'll do a quick recap of anything I found interesting on both the Japanese and North American versions of the Direct. I do both because some releases are only mentioned on a single one, even if the game does eventually come out later internationally, or there might be different information present. I'll be using the English name for every title, so people can recognize what on earth I'm talking about. Anyhow, let's get straight into it. I'll be skipping any game that I have absolutely nothing to say about, which will be several of them. First off, we get an announcement for Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Or, if you are watching the Japanese Nintendo Direct, Fire Emblem Muso, Fuka Setsugetsu, which I don't even think I can translate that to English literally without sounding slightly insane. Wind, Flower, Snow, Moon. Anyways, yeah, personally, I'm not too excited. I don't care for Muso games, or perhaps better known in the West as warrior games. I thought the Breath of the Wild one was pretty good for a Muso game, as in introduced enough mechanics and played well enough that I really did thought it was a great representation for that style of game. With that said, this is still a Muso game. You already know if you like this sort of game or not, and none of the games are really gonna change your mind on that. Maybe it'll actually have a really good story. Honestly, if it changes up things for Three Houses, maybe I'll check it out. Next up, we have the surprise announcement of a Front Mission 1 and 2 remake. I was actually starting work on a video about a Front Mission spin-off recently, so it surprised me to see that Square Enix actually remembered its franchise existed. Front Mission is a super cool classic tactics kind of game that has a pretty strong emphasis on trying to tell a war drama sometime in the future, where war is dominated by huge robots known as Wanzers. Both things of which I'm a huge fan of, so I have played some of this series before. Front Mission has not seen a proper mainline release since 2005 with Front Mission 5 Scars of War, so it was pretty shocking to see this announced in 2022, and on the Nintendo Direct of all things. I'm pretty excited to see this come out. Granted, I already played the first game a long while back, but it's been long enough that I've already forgotten practically everything about it. And the second one is apparently coming out sometime soon. What I am more excited about, however, is the potential future for perhaps a Front Mission 6 to come out if this remake manages to rekindle everyone's interest in the series. And that would be absolutely amazing. Advance Wars Reboot Camp 1 and 2. Did I just say I'm surprised that a company remembered a long existing property that I was a huge fan of? Yeah, let me repeat all of that again. This isn't even the first announcement for Advance Wars Reboot Camp, but hey, we have another announcement date on April 8th, which I hope won't end up being delayed yet again. Advance Wars is another tactics game from my childhood that I swear Intelligence System just straight up forgot after Days of Ruin back in 2008. Unlike Front Mission, I actually have replayed Advance Wars 2 hard mode quite recently just for fun, so I can't say I'm personally super interested in playing this game when it comes out. What I am excited for, however, is the potential for anyone who hasn't played Advance Wars to give this game a shot. Advance Wars is an amazing tactics game that has a great amount of depth, and it even has a rock-solid difficulty, which requires the player to think relatively hard in order to beat the campaign, especially on hard mode. Again, what I would be most excited for, however, is if Reboot Camp manages to garner enough interest in the Advance Wars series so that I could potentially see an Advance Wars 5, 3, some random subtitle, anything like that I would pick up and play in a heartbeat. If the game itself is popular enough and the online is not absolutely terrible, I would even be kinda down to just pick it up for the multiplayer component. Advance Wars by Web exists, but an actual version would be fantastic. Next up, we have Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. Initially, I was actually excited for this one because I saw a 4-player mode in this trailer, which previous versions of Taiko no Tatsujin on the home console lacked. Most of the time, it's 1 to 2 players just like on the actual arcade machine. That said, from what I saw, it seems to be a special big band mode or something, which will probably mean it's not going to allow you to play the actual songs like the normal game. Still, no matter what, there's always one good reason to pick up any new Taiko no Tatsujin version, which is of course the fact that this new version will have new songs to play with. Mario Strikers Battle League. You know, I thought it was about time that the Switch got a Mario Strikers game, considering the fact that there's been one on every other Nintendo home console since it first came out, even though the Wii U was sad enough to just get a port of the Wii version. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't come out earlier, considering I feel like it's more popular than Golf in terms of a party game. In terms of being a single-player adventure, I thought Mario Golf for the Game Boy Advance was amazing. But anyways, enough talk about Mario Golf. Mario Strikers, yeah, it sure looks like Mario Strikers, as in it looks like barely anything has changed since the Wii days. It does look like they took out the super power shot that let you get like 7 points or some nonsense, which is good because I thought that thing was absolute nonsense. And instead they have replaced it with a more normal, cooler looking power shot that the goalie can't seem to block. There's a Splatoon 3 announcement, which considering no one's going crazy gaga over it, I assume it was already announced before and I forgot it. I'm not really a Splatoon fan. In fact, while I'm at it, let's just speed run through every announcement that I have little interest in talking about before continuing on, starting with No Man's Sky on the Switch. Yep, that's a thing. Disney Speedstorm. It's free to play on every other console and on PC. Classic franchises, Star Wars Force Unleashed and Assassin's Creed. Again, I probably would want to play on a different console. Porto! Yeah, I guess it's a portable game. This janky remake of a Sengoku Japanese grand strategy game that looks super terrible. Nintendo Sports Switch. I'm surprised this didn't come out earlier, but cool. Here's a thing for the family to get. Metroid free update, a one-hit mode, easy mode, and a boss rush. All things I honestly couldn't care less about. Not because Metroid Dread is bad, it's a fantastic game, but because none of this will make me want to come back to it. Nintendo Switch Online gets Mother 1 and Mother 2. I mean, that's cool and all, but unless it's a Mother 3 announcement, I don't think anyone's gonna be going crazy over it, Mario Kart DLC, nothing to do with me. E-Baseball Power Pro 2022! Maybe one day I'll play a game from this series again, but that day is not today. Chocobo GP. See what I said about Mario Kart, but also I'm pretty sure this has already been announced. Demon Slayer fighting game. I think all of the Bandai Namco anime-specific arena fighters all kind of whatever. They bank on the fact that you're a fan of the series, but aside from that, have no real substance to them. Getsu Fumaden Undying Moon looks like a pretty cool stylish Japanese remake of the incredibly old Getsu Fumaden on the NES. Although I think it's on Steam in early access from what I remember. Also, the fact that Konami's making it scares me a little bit because, it's Konami, like 2022 Konami. This MLB The Show trailer with Japanese players talking in Japanese, even though it only showed up in the English Nintendo Direct, so that's strange. SD Gundam Battle Universe. I actually like Gundam stuff, since, I like Super Robot Wars. That said, I don't have any real interest in the SD games unless that SD game is called Super Robot Tyson Dodgeball. 13 Senato Aegis Rim. I actually do kind of want to talk about this game, but the trailer here is like 10 seconds long, and this is a re-release of a PS4 game. So I'll talk about it in a separate video some other day. Finally, Voice of Cards 2, The Forsaken Maiden. I was fairly excited to play the first game since it was made by the insane mind that brought us the Nier series, but after playing it, it's honestly a lot more tame than I expected from Yoko Taro. Seems like a new set of main characters. I assume if you like the first one, you'll probably like this one as well. Okay, whew, that was a lot. Let me catch my breath and we can get back to the games that I do want to talk about in slightly more detail. Next up in the kinda crazy big announcements, we have Chrono Cross the Radical Dreamers Edition. Speaking of forgotten classics, what the heck is a Chrono Cross remaster doing in 2022? Chrono Cross hasn't had barely a mention in over 23 years aside from a PlayStation Network release. And they even included a Japanese-only choose-your-own-adventure text novel, Radical Dreamers, which, by the way, has gotten a fan translation way long ago, but here's an official version, I suppose. Can't say I expected that. Chrono Cross is a classic. Not as much as Chrono Trigger, which might as well be the poster child for classic JRPGs you must play, but it's definitely a milestone in gaming nonetheless. It's similar to Chrono Trigger in the sense that it has a wacky, insane plotline, except instead of time hopping, you are now dimension hopping. It's got 12 endings, although what that really means is that it has one main ending and a whole bunch of alternative ones. Similar to Chrono Trigger. It has a ridiculously huge cast, but in the same way that Suikoden 2 has a ridiculously huge cast. So, only a couple of characters are actually important to the main story. It seems like this is just a remaster, which doesn't really change much. Some touch-ups, a remaster soundtrack, a no encounter button. I wouldn't say it's a must-play in the same way I think Chrono Trigger is one, but if classic JRPGs from the PlayStation era is something you have an interest in, or you were a big Chrono Trigger fan, Chrono Cross is definitely a must-try from that generation. Also, you can play Radical Dreamers in English officially! Wow, that still kinda blows my mind. Radical Dreamers, for a quick Cliff Notes version, It's a side story choose your own adventure novel made for the Satellaview, which was a Japanese only add-on to the Super Nintendo that acts as a side story to Chrono Trigger, and that plot there would later be implemented into Chrono Cross. They have the same main characters, but the plot doesn't make much sense if you try to combine the two, which is fine to say considering how absolutely insane Chrono Cross's plot actually is. Kirby and the Forgotten Land got another trailer. I mean, it's Kirby. This is the game that I'm sure everyone is talking about aside from that one other game we're gonna get to. The Forgotten Land looks great. I've been lucky enough to play every single Kirby game out there, and Forgotten Land looks like a grand new step for the franchise. I think this might technically be its first foray into full-on 3D, as opposed to the 2.5D like in the N64 Crystal Shard. I mean, I guess Kirby's Air Ride kinda had 3D, but that was a racing game, and every subsequent game was sticking with the 2D side-scrolling style. The biggest thing this new trailer shows off is the mouthful mode that Kirby gets in this game. Mouthful mode Car Kirby looks absolutely horrendous, but having an entirely new set of mouth moves is great in adding variety to the level design, so I really like it. Evolving skills too? Wow, that all sounds pretty dang cool. Sign me up. This Kirby is shaping up to be great. Not like super astounding, this is gonna change Kirby forever, but it's looking to be like a rock solid Kirby game. Haruyuki te Retoro Chica. Oh boy, a live-action mystery visual novel on a Switch by Square Enix. I feel like every live-action visual novel I've played has been a great time. Death Comes True was a terrible B-movie, but that didn't mean I didn't have fun laughing at the game itself. 428 Shibuya Scramble was pretty good. And that's probably as many of the live-action visual novels I've played, although I certainly have known a couple other have existed. Yeah, it looks like something alright. I can't say much more. I don't have much familiarity with this game. Maybe it's a franchise. This trailer's not showing enough for me to like draw any conclusions. And honestly, I can't say I would want to play this kind of game on a Switch. I feel like these kind of live action games have a lot of footage, which equals a lot of space. So I'd rather play this on PC. If it does come out there though, maybe then, maybe. Live Alive. Please stop, Nintendo. I can't take this much nostalgia overload. Holy Jesus me, it's a Live Alive remake. That's pretty gosh damn unbelievable. What on earth? What? How? Okay, so for those who are not aware of what the heck this is and why I'm losing my over it, Live Alive is another Japanese-only SNES game made by Square back in 1994 before they became Square Enix. A fan translation by Aeon Genesis did come out several years later, which is how I first stumbled upon the game myself. It's a great game that was a commercial failure. It's basically a whole bunch of short JRPGs smashed into a single one, which eventually culminated into an ultimate finale involving all the characters. Each of the separate stories that you played revolved around an entirely different game mechanic, main character, and era. For instance, the Wild West Cowboy one involves finding and setting up a ton of traps for a single great fight at the end. The Modern Wrestler one involves a boss rush where the main character learns new moves from each boss. The Future one involves super robots and psychic kids, reading minds, and the Robot one was a horror survivor one, where you had to hide from a giant monster while solving a mystery. I'm a huge sucker for innovative game mechanics and multi-perspective stories, so all of this is right up my alley. While each individual story was certainly very short and simple, they're all pretty quirky adventures that I had fun going through, and I think stand unique from one another. In my opinion, Live Alive is similar to Octopath Traveler, but if they actually did the whole different character thing justice. Granted, I definitely think Octopath Traveler is a way better JRPG mechanically, but Live Alive made me actually feel like I was playing through many different characters, and actually had a finale that wasn't tagged on as some sort of badly hidden afterthought. In terms of SNES JRPGs, Live Alive is probably one of my favorites, and I'm sure to play this one again when the remake comes out. Also, I see they chose a girl as a disciple for the Kung Fu chapter. Excellent choice, trailer. Kanoa Fantasy Reverie series. Wow, they just don't stop coming, huh? The nostalgia IP dead revival overload. Kanoa hasn't been a thing since 2008. Admittingly, I don't nearly have as much love for Kanoa as I do for all the other games I just mentioned, but I did play some Kanoa on the GBA back in my childhood, so it's cool to see it here. I can't say I'm personally interested in playing it now because it's just one of the games I played, as opposed to something I have a huge nostalgia for. But I think it's great for the Kanoa fans out there who haven't had something to chomp on for over a decade now. Triangle strategy, tactical strategy. I'm getting huge Tactic Ogre vibes from this game, which is a good thing because I love that series. This isn't the first trailer for it, but I think it's the first time I talked about it. They didn't really show much here again. All they showed was like the overall movement and a few battle animations, but I do like the art direction they're taking the game in, you know, in that Octopath kind of style. So when it does come out, I'll probably give it a shot. Loop 8. Oh look! It's a time loop JRPG. You know, I don't know what it is, but every time I see a time limited or time loop sort of story, I'm always compelled to give it a look, even though I feel like I'm always retreading old ground. Name a more classic pairing than anime and time loops. It's got what looks to be this multi-graph relationship sort of system, where I imagine you have a limited resource in trying to up everyone's relationships before the time-sensitive thing you need to do ends, or whatever. I noticed that in the example trailer, the test footage has a fox girl and the other girl maxed in whatever those graphs mean. Time loops and relationship systems? Yep, sounds like my kind of jam. I'll keep an eye on it when it comes out for real. Maybe it'll have a Steam release by then, but I'd be down to check it out either way. Unless it bombs really bad in the review scale. Marvelous is publishing it, which is usually a better sign than, say, Idea Factory publishing it. I mean, Marvelous has published gold like Senran and Kagura, Peach Ball Splash. Okay, but jokes aside, I do like quite a few of the games they've published. Fate Extra CCC? Pretty solid. Fate Extra? It was a work in progress. Finally, the last thing and the big announcement that everyone's talking about is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This is obviously the big one, just like Kirby. And yeah, it looks good. I like Xenoblade Chronicles, but I don't know. When I played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I felt pretty about it. Never finished the game, I only played a few hours. Still, Xenoblade 3 looks pretty good. I might end up playing it, or at the very least, I'll give it more of a shot than I gave Xenoblade 2. I can't say I can go any deeper than that for this trailer. I'm not exactly the biggest Xenoblade Chronicle fan out there. So I'm looking at all these characters going, yeah, she looks nice, he looks nice, cool flute. They also only showed story instead of any gameplay. And while that's cool, it doesn't leave much for me to talk about. I can't be like, oh, that system looks different than in Xenoblade 1 and 2. But I mean, both of their previous games did well. I imagine this will be even better. Hopefully, maybe. And yeah, that was the February Nintendo Direct for both NA and JP. I'm shocked at how many dead IPs were resurrected from the grave here. Kanoa, Front Mission, Advance Wars, Chrono Cross, and Radical Dreamers, Live Alive. Talk about unexpected, well, except for Advance Wars since that thing has been announced and delayed already. I'm probably the most excited for Live Alive actually, out of all the games shown. It's probably the one I want to get nostalgia blasted with the most. In terms of what I'm actually going to be playing, I'd say the Front Mission remakes, Live Alive, Kirby, Triangle Strategy. Xenoblade 3 is a maybe. I bet it'll be great, I'm just kind of hesitant into jumping into what I know is going to be a 60 plus hour experience. Loop 8 looks tentatively interesting as well, but who knows when that's gonna come out. That'll be it for me this time around. If you like what you saw, all the supportive stuff, like, subscribe, notifications are in the same place as always. And with that, I'll see you later. Till next time.